Well, thank you very much, Dana. And, you know, Bobby told me to be very brief, so my introduction was longer than what I supposed to. So, thank you very much. Bobby Vassar is still staff pro tem, although he's in retirement. Did an excellent job. And when you talk about prevention, in talking about it, we actually did something when we were both in state government. We created the Council on Prevention. And where's Neil? Oh, there he is. Neil will know that when you talk about the science of prevention, you get everybody together around the table and talk about prevention, because a lot of times solving one person's kind of silo problem just creates problems for somebody else. The Department of Education has a problem kid, we just kick him out of school. Took care of the problem for the Department of Education, but if you're around the table talking to somebody in criminal justice services said, whoa, don't kick them out of school because then we're going to get them. And so getting everybody working together, you can develop strategies from a research-based perspective that will get people on the right track, keep them on the right track, and not create problems for others. We're trying to focus on research. Peter's been very helpful in making sure we get a research-based approach, and actually we're making some progress. Because if you can get away in crime policy, if you can get away from slogans and sound bites, tough on crime, mandatory minimum sentences, if you get it to rhyme, it's even better. If you do the adult crime, you do the adult time. Another technique is figure out the crime of the day and name a crime bill after somebody. No good politician ever votes against a crime bill named after somebody. I mean, research never sees the light of day, but if you can get away from the slogans and sound bites, all you have are initiatives that reduce crime and save money. But you got to get away from the slogans. There's a broad coalition that has figured this out from the left and the right that's come together to support legislation that Jim Sensenbrenner and I have introduced, the Safe Justice Act, which is a comprehensive criminal justice reform bill, starting with prevention, diversion, diversion, get rid of many mandatory minimums, apply them just to kingpins, not to everybody else. Prison reform, if you go to prison, you ought to come out less likely to go in than you went in. Even parole reform, where you don't unnecessarily revoke somebody. If they finally got themselves in a little job, in a little apartment, and got them back on track, they forget to report one day, and all of a sudden you revoked them for 3 months. They lose their job, they lose their apartment, and they come back with looking for a job as a convicted felon, and they're back on the way back into prison. So that bill has substantial support on the left and the right as a comprehensive bill. A part of that is not necessarily by name, but by information and program, the Youth Promise Act, which requires the community to come together and figure out how much money this is presently spending on prisons. If you look at what many communities are spending on prisons, the Pew Research has done some. You got so many people locked up in jail, you're messing up so many families, got so many people with felony records, with all the collateral consequences, that we're actually adding to crime. The crime rate is counterproductive at the rate we are now. And if you figure that out, instead of spending money on counterproductive prisons, spend it on a plan that will get young people on the right track and keep them on the right track, you will have a situation where you, again, reduce crime and save money. And so the Youth Promise Act is part of that comprehensive overall reform. One of the early supporters of the Youth Promise Act was a Los Angeles City Council member that invited me out to California to talk about juvenile justice. He is now a colleague of mine, Tony Cardenas, a member of Congress, and we're still working on, he was working on juvenile justice when he was in the state legislature, and again as a member of City Council, and now as a member of Congress. So it's great to see him here talking about prevention and all of what we can do to take advantage of the prevention science and do the right thing, reduce crime, and save money. So, Nana, thank you very much for having me, and I look forward to, I can say a little bit, but I'm going to have to leave in a few minutes, to make sure that we are using the science, because if the Safe Justice Act hadn't done anything, it has pointed out and gotten a lot of people supporting the idea that an evidence-based, research-based experience, what the states have done that worked, outlook on crime policy is a whole lot more productive than codifying a bunch of slogans and sound bites. So thank you very much for all that you do.
Thank you so much.